last week we talked about geometric forms. We talked about
sphere, cube, cylinder, cone, cylinder, triangle,
or
pyramid.
Very good. And we took shapes and we turned them into 3D forms. This week we're going to make those 3D forms look even more realistic by shading them, okay? So we're going to be talking and looking at different ways to shade. Shading makes something look realistic, right? So if I drew an arm, if I drew a sketch of an arm, you can tell it's an arm. Does it look realistic? No. If I added details to the arm, does it look more realistic?
Yeah.
Yes? Does it look kind of cartoonish?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a cartoon arm, and there's nothing wrong with that. It looks great for a cartoon arm. But when I start shading it, and I start adding contours, it begins to look more realistic. And then, after I add all of my shading, it looks very realistic. Like I could just walk out of Sam Hunt's arm here, and him and I can go take a little walk together. Sam Hunt and I. Ladies, who's watched videos about contouring on YouTube? Yeah. You're shading your face. That's all you're doing is shading and highlighting your face. If I get to go on a date with Sam Hunt, I'm going to contour this all up, make myself look good. Okay. Contouring though, they add some like white here to make your cheekbones like super stand out, like you're half dead or something, right? Ew. And then that's what it looks like. And then they put some bronzer down here, shadow, same thing, to make your cheeks kind of like go. Right? And then they do some weird stuff with your eyebrows, some contouring up there and your eyeballs, so your eyeballs look like ginormous, right? So that's all contouring. That's all using shading on your skin. Halloween's coming up around the corner. People will be contouring themselves, making them look like they're half dead. I know Savannah's mom is already into that, already doing it, posting pictures on Facebook. Crazy. Okay, anyway. I saw a picture on Facebook of this man, large belly. And he had drawn on himself some abs and shaved them real good. It looked like he had real abs, like he had like just ginormously ripped abs, right? Until I wiggled, and then it was like jiggle. Anyway, so you can do a lot with shading on your paper and on your body, I guess, if you wanted to make it look real and to show contours of the body or whatever it is you're drawing. Today we're going to look at 4 shading techniques. Hatching is, who remembers from last year what hatching is? Lines. The lines get less or more close to the sun? Less, and then they get more away from the sun. Cross hatching is lines going 2 directions, so lines are going this way and this way. And again, they grow denser or closer together away from the sun. Stippling is dot. Less dots near the highlighted area, more dots away from the sun, away from the light source, I should say. That's a lot of S's for somebody with something in the mouth, sorry. And then blending. Blending is what we think about when we think about shading. When we think of shading, we think it's just blending. But really, there's so many ways to shade. This just barely scratches the surface of what you can do with blending. There's a lot of different ways you can blend. There's a lot of different ways you can shade. Sorry. Blending is smearing, though. That's what we think of when we think of shading. Today, what we're going to do... Oh, wait. I'm backing up a minute. It's the end of the day. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself. To create a shadow or a shade, what do you have to have? Kylie. Sun or a light source, yes. If I don't have a light source, what is my picture going to be? Black, right? It's going to be just nothing. It's just black. You won't see a picture. So you have some sort of light source, ladies, to make your shading or your shadow. So if I'm standing in my light source, which side of me is shaded?
Your face.
The back side of me, right? Yes. Okay, which side of me has the shadow?
Behind you.
The shadow is behind me. Does the shadow walk around upright wherever you go?
No.
No, where does it live?
It lives on side where the brightness is at.
Right, it was on the side of the away from the brightness. I got you. But where does it live? It doesn't follow me standing upright. Where does it follow me? I heard it. On the ground, on a surface. Very good, on a surface. So if I come next to the wall, the shadow's going to be on the wall. If I'm out in the middle of a large open area, the shadow's going to be on the ground. But the shadow always goes away from the light, right? Alright, so when you look at these, which side, left or right, is shaded? Right, which side is the light coming from? Left. Caitlin, what side is the light coming from?
The left.
Yes. Okay, so what we're going to do today, if you pay close attention, you'll get this, an easy 100 on this. So we are going to practice these 4 shading techniques. Remember, is this all the shading techniques there are? No. On your paper, you're going to fold your paper first to make 4 squares. I shouldn't have to show you how to do that. Holes on top of your 3-hole pencil paper. That's okay. Then you're going to label them: hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and blending. On hatching, what did we say hatching was?
Lines.
Lines. Where's my sun?
On the left.
On the left, okay. It doesn't matter if you want to draw your sun on the right, you can, okay. If it's not going to be on the left, I want you to actually draw a sun so I know which way you're supposed to be shading and not that you have it backwards, okay. So, if my sun's on the left, what side am I going to shade? Alright, so I'm going to start off by making lines that go halfway. Then I'm going to make shorter lines. Then I'm going to make shorter lines. Then shorter lines. Why then shorter lines? And then shorter lines. Like these. Okay. Then, what do I still need?
The shadow.
A shadow. The shadow's going to be on, like this?
No.
This? No, where's my shadow live? Still on this side. Yeah, it's like
Wait,
one.
did you use the line of the paper to like have that like a wall?
No. Good question, but not for this today, okay? Okay, so then I'm going to make my lines on the ground like this, but then I'm going to still make them shorter. And then shorter, as it gets closer to the sphere. So it's kind of like the opposite, right? It's going to be getting lighter as it gets away from the object, whereas this is lighter as it goes forward. This is lighter as it goes to the right, this is going to be lighter. Darker as it goes to the right, lighter as it goes to the right. Questions about hatching? Okay, next one, cross hatching. What do I do?
You use 2 different lines.
Intersecting lines, very good. 2 different directional lines I heard also, good. So I start one way. And then the other way. And then, what kind of line? Shorter line. And then, shorter line. Shorter line. And then, shorter line. And then shorter until I get very small. Alright? And then you're done.
That looks like...
Now, mine isn't going to look as good as yours because yours is going to be done in pencil, or in regular marker. Mine is done in Excel marker. What happens if I go over something in Excel marker?
And you can't...
So mine's going to look kind of hooey. Yours will look good. Okay, so my shadow on the ground, then shorter lines, and shorter lines. Alright. Next one, stippling. What was stippling? Stop. So I'm going to use, when you're doing yours, use more than one marker. It makes it go quicker. Okay. Again, what side am I going to start on? The right side, away from the sunlight. So I'm going to start by filling in about half of it. Okay. Then I'm going to come back, and instead of shorter, I'm going to just come in and do a little less than half. And then the tall.
Reminds me of Butterfingers.
Does. Oh yeah, that's kind of Butterfinger color. Reminds me of Halloween.
And Butterfingers.
You guys are just hungry. Yeah, but a whole lot near this line here, because that's where it's the most dense, right? Away from the sun.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's fading. Okay, I could probably work on that a little longer, but for time's sake, I'll stop. And then I'm going to have some down here. Rotate my colors a little bit so I get a variety.
Are we supposed to get one color?
You can have more than one color, I don't care. You can do it all in one color if you want. It's just easier to do with marker because pencil will take you all day. Alright, so does everybody understand these three?
Yeah.
These three you're going to do with marker. Trace your words with marker. The fourth one, however, you're going to have to do that one with pencil because you cannot blend marker, at least none of the markers I know of. So, for your blending one, let me draw a sphere really quick on this paper.
Like a perfect circle.
Not quite. When you're blending, there's a trick to this. You're going to hold the pencil not like you write. You might write like this or however it is you write. You're going to hold it with your hand on top of the pencil, your fingertip on top of the lead, and the key is to not let the tip of the lead touch. You want to use the side of the pencil edge, okay, and color it. If the tip touches, you really can't blend it without erasing. Okay, so here's what I mean. I hold it like this, my hands on top, my fingers on top, and I'm going to color this in. It doesn't matter if you're coloring neatly as long as you're using the side of your pencil. You cannot do this with mechanical pencil. It will not work. You'll have to erase. It's very difficult. The best thing to use for shading is probably charcoal. But charcoal is extremely messy. Okay? So after I have it colored in a little bit, I'm going to use a dry paper towel. Another thing at home that works good is if you roll up some paper. It works as a good blending stick. Actually, that's what you buy a blending stick. That's all it is rolled up paper, and then they sharpen it like a pencil. But our fingers, a lot of people shade with their fingers, and you can. Your fingers have oils on them, so it's actually easier to shade with a paper towel. So I'm going to put my finger inside this cheap paper towel. If you have good paper towels at home, they don't work as good. Okay? I know, right? So Bounty and all those, they're great for cleanup spills, but these are better for shading. This is my finger in here, and I'm going to blend by smearing just to get a good base coat. I want it to blend to nothing. I don't want it to be today.
It really looks like someone threw up.
That's not nice.
No, the design.
Okay, and I could probably spend more time blending this, but for time's sake, I'm gonna stop. If you have lines in here that won't break up, you can take your eraser and kind of top them up with your eraser, and that'll help make it where it's smoother looking. But I'm not done, because when you shade something, as it gets away from the light, it gets what? Darker. So I want this edge to be a lot darker than over here. So I'm going to take my pencil again after I do one coat, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to make this darker. Okay, so my finger, my paper towel, blend that. I've been doing this all day. I'm going to have some good guns, right? I keep doing them? Strong muscles? No?
Nope.
Oh, man. I thought it was going to count as my workout for the day. Nope. Okay. Let's pretend I did a good job on that. What else does it need? A shadow on the ground. Your shadow again needs to fade out from dark to light. And it needs one more thing. Who's got
Me, like
name?
a sun.
I'll need your name on that. What else?
The class numbers.
I'll give you a hint.
Oh, you have to like make it like lighter and yeah.
Clean up your edges, yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I couldn't think of it.
Make it where it's crisp on the edge there. Because a lot of times it, like, when you're smearing, you'll get a whole bunch of goose over there. You don't want that goose. Okay? So this would go here on your paper. Tomorrow we're going to use one of these shading techniques to shade your candy still life we just got done drawing. Questions? You can stop recording. Questions?